All right, let's go ahead and get started. The topic of clearances is familiar to anyone who has worked or is working in manufacturing. Clearances are incorporated into our designs to account for various sources of error or tolerances that might otherwise prevent a size-on-size fit. And whether we are designing for injection molding, CNC machining, or 3D printing, clearances are a must. It's probably one of the only design for manufacturing principles that's seen in every manufacturing category, the only difference being the clearance values themselves. In this webinar, we'll take a look at the accuracy of FDM, SLA, and SLS 3D printers, and how this accuracy determines the proper clearances you should use in your 3D printing projects. Now, rather than just spout off recommended clearances from our Markforged and Formlabs design guides, let's take a look at some physical print results demonstrating accuracy and clearance using a select group of printers. The printers in question are a Mark II, an X7, a Form 4, and a Fuse 1 Plus. These were chosen because they are great representations of FDM, SLA, and SLS printers, plus they are tried and true affordable workhorses from our lineup. Printer accuracy can be tested in a variety of ways, usually coming in the form of a test print like the calibration cube. However, this print is kind of overly simple, failing to test features like holes and features of varying sizes. Therefore, I crafted this test print. It features a 20mm square and cylindrical peg with holes of matching size, along with a smaller 10mm square and cylindrical peg, also with holes of matching size. The pegs are 10mm high, the plate is 5mm high, and the plate dimensions are 110 by 55mm. As a sanity check, I even threw in the major dimensions on the underside. Now, you might have noticed that there are no holes or posts positioned along a vertical wall. While this could be done, albeit with a much thicker base, these features would require support material during FDM printing, which negatively impacts accuracy. Therefore, not really telling us much on these printers' capabilities. Note that you can add teardrop profiles to holes in vertical walls to eliminate support material and improve accuracy. Besides testing a variety of critical features, the design of this print was also geared towards ensuring fast print turnaround and print success across FDM, SLA, and SLS printers. To keep things constant, I printed only one of these on the print bed and in the same spot each time, repeating until I had 4 prints from each printer. I did deviate from this with the Fuse 1 Plus because vertically packing parts is just how you minimize accumulation of recycled powder. So having multiple parts in a build is just the norm with SLS. Lastly, before printing, I made sure all maintenance tasks were up to date on the printers. Across the 4 machines, only one task required attention, a nozzle swap on the X7. After installing a fresh nozzle and successfully completing a variety of calibrations, we were ready to send the test print to the printers. The first set of prints finished on the Mark II and X7, both using Onyx and all default settings. I took these parts off the print bed and fabricated a table in Excel to capture the main dimensions. These dimensions are the X and Y dimensions of the square pegs and holes, the X dimension only of the cylindrical pegs and holes, since there's a seam running along the Y plane that's going to throw off our measurement, and finally the length, width, and height of the plate. Note that for easier viewing, I'll produce a table like this one, tying each dimension to its location on the test print, rather than copying over an ugly Excel table. After each print finished, I marked it with its print number, numbered 1 through 4, and from which printer it was printed on. I then took its measurements and noted them in the corresponding table. From the 4 prints, these are the average dimensions for the Mark II and X7. The posts and square holes were consistently a bit oversized, and the round holes were consistently a bit undersized. Also, you'll notice the X7's superior dimensional accuracy over the Mark II. The Mark II typically performs more accurately along its shorter y-axis compared to its longer x-axis, but the X7's uniform x and y-axes, paired with some improved design and construction, lends to its better accuracy over the Mark II. Despite not having relevancy for our tests, I also went ahead and included the average sample standard deviations just to illustrate these printers' high level of precision. Industrial 3D printers may not always be as accurate as some other manufacturing techniques like CNC machining, but they are repeatable, which means they produce predictable results. For the SLA and SLS prints, both X and Y dimensions were captured for the cylindrical pegs and holes because seams are not present on these prints. Besides this one deviation, all other steps were identical to those performed on the FDM prints. The prints on the Form 4 used gray V5 and all default settings, and the prints on the Fuse 1 Plus used nylon 12 and all default settings. The resulting average dimensions for the Form 4 and Fuse 1 Plus are listed here. The Form 4 produced slightly undersized features for the most part, whereas the Fuse 1 Plus produced oversized pegs and undersized holes, which is actually typical of most printers. For the average sample standard deviation, the Form 4's is very similar to that of the Mark II, which was 0.0209 millimeters. Again, these printers show remarkable repeatability. Now, we can use these averages to adjust the CAD model in order to compensate for the inaccuracies observed. Recall that this compensation is the core definition of a clearance, just like the inherent inaccuracies observed is at the core of a tolerance. To add these clearances unique to each printer, I first created a configuration for each printer in the SOLIDWORKS model and then activated each configuration individually to modify the dimensions in the first two sketches based on the average dimensions we recorded. For instance, the average length of the base plate on prints from the Mark II was 110.08 millimeters, 0.08 millimeters oversized. Therefore, I undersized the base plate for the Mark II configuration by 0.08 millimeters, resulting in a length of 109.92 millimeters. I repeated this process through all the dimensions recorded and for all printers. By clicking through each configuration, you can actually see the model subtly change since each printer reproduced the dimensions slightly differently, just a product of the individual technology's various strengths and weaknesses. After exporting out each STL, I reprinted each adjusted print on the corresponding printer. Each one was remeasured, and each measurement was entered into new tables. How close the values were to those in CAD across all machines is really remarkable, clearly evident as I briefly flash through each of these tables. Another way to illustrate the improved accuracy is via the average percent errors before and after the adjustment for each printer. This average percent error is showing by how far, on average, the measurements deviate from the CAD dimensions. The Mark II and Fuse 1 Plus both showed the greatest improvement, the Form 4 demonstrated the highest initial accuracy, and the X7 had the highest accuracy post-adjustment. And it's really just splitting hairs, because the printers are already pretty accurate. It just goes to show that because these printers are repeatable, in other words, predictable, I can simply modify dimensions to suit the manufacturing technique and get even more accurate results. For example, had I CNC machined this test print, perhaps I could achieve our CAD dimensions within 0.05 millimeters or 2 thou. But for 3D printing, as we saw, the dimensions must be modified because 3D printers cannot achieve tolerances as tight as CNC machines. And that's the key point here. The modified dimensions I used are suited to this manufacturing technique, 3D printing. These modified dimensions are synonymous with clearances, and we can see now that clearance values vary depending on the manufacturing technique, even between different types of 3D printers. By designing with 3D printing in mind, we can get the results we're after, even within a few microns. Now, we can tie this accuracy test into clearances in another way. Oftentimes we get asked, how do I know what clearances to incorporate into my 3D printable designs? The best way to determine this is by printing a unit test. These unit tests are small prints that host features of varying sizes and are used to identify printer capabilities and/or limitations. For example, I modeled this unit test of varying clearances applied to a 3/16 inch hole to gauge tightness of fit. I need to use a 3/16 inch machined dowel pin as a connector and Z-axis reinforcer for a camera stand that adapts to this ball joint mount. The values printed here are diametral clearances in millimeters. In other words, 0.1 represents a hole that is 0.1 millimeters, or 4 thou, larger than the 3/16 inch hole. As before, I printed this part on our 4 printers, the Mark II, X7, Form 4, and Fuse 1 Plus. The results are very much in line with what we saw from our accuracy tests. Let's start with the Mark II. We saw that our 20 millimeter circular hole on average printed 0.03 millimeters undersized. The 10 millimeter circular hole printed 0.13 millimeters undersized, so we can see that the smaller the hole, the more undersized it becomes. Therefore, a 3/16 inch hole at 4.76 millimeters will be further undersized. On our unit test from the Mark II, the dowel pin is a press fit for 0.15 millimeter clearance. This is in line with what we saw from our accuracy study. A 0.2 millimeter clearance is more of a close fit, and anything above that is a free fit. With the X7's accuracy test, our 10 millimeter circular hole on average measured 0.07 millimeters undersized. Therefore, we'd expect the 0.1 millimeter clearance on our unit test to be a press fit. And it is. Jumping up to 0.15 millimeter clearance is a close fit, and everything above that becomes a free fit. The Form 4 shows the same pattern as the X7, where the 10 millimeter circular holes were approaching 0.1 millimeter undersized. Therefore, the close fit clearance for our dowel pin is about 0.15 millimeters. Everything above that is a free fit. We saw very similar behavior from the Fuse 1 Plus, where 0.15 millimeters was press fit, and everything above that was becoming more and more of a free fit. We happened to also print some of the clearance unit tests vertically, since SLS support-free printing means it does not experience as much of the inaccuracies as FDM with horizontally oriented holes. Because of the finer accuracy along the Z-axis, which is true of all printers, we could get a press fit down to 0.05 millimeter. Since we're going to print these small parts on the Mark II, I took a look at the unit test to determine the clearance for the 3/16 inch dowel pin hole. I like the friction of the 0.2 millimeter clearance hole, so that's what we'll model here. Thanks to the repeatability of the printer, I know the result will match what we observed in our unit test. And here was our finished product. This ball joint mount is a sample part we've had for many years. I'm not even sure exactly what it's for, so I just drummed up this random idea to attach our phone camera mount to it. It just goes to show that 3D printing can be used to attach anything to anything, which was actually the subject of one of our earlier webinars. I recommend you check that one out. For successful 3D printing, the takeaways here are knowing your printer's capabilities and designing with this specific printer in mind. Folks who are expecting design principles that pertain to injection molding or sheet metal fabrication to also apply to 3D printing will meet with failure, as we've shown in this webinar. The principles we've covered today were demonstrated simplistically, but are the same ones that proved paramount to successfully pulling off all the projects we've printed in our previous webinars. And they're the same principles other expert 3D printer users employ on their projects. If you adopt them too, you'll see the same print success.